Hi everyone, this is SportsReplays here. I decided to make a video this round, even though I didn't make one last week, just a quick update. So this round ranked 25,106, which is mediocre, and gone up in 3,000 rankings, which is okay, but I'm low down, so it's pretty not really that hard to go up the ranks for where I'm at. So the last 2 weeks have been a bit better, but it's still below where I want. I guess because I'm so far behind, it's like, it's a long way back. We'll just start off this round. So I've got, obviously, Sinclair didn't play. Holmes 152, which is great. Roberts, I think he was injured or he was laid out, which we'll get to that in a minute. DeConning 61. He's a play we wanted to get out ages ago, but due to all the injuries and the bye rounds, I just haven't gotten to. And it's one of the biggest frustrations this year. Brock, one of the saving grace from this side. I probably wouldn't be in a up 50,000 if it wasn't for him. Sort of saved my season a little bit. Well, prevent it from being an even bigger disaster. And then Clark 71, traded him in, so he played all right. And obviously by Jordan Clark and Wanganera and Milo didn't play. Dacos only scored a 95, so he's been a bit off lately, Dacos. And then Rosie 116, which is good, but I'd rather him in the defence, which, I probably won't be able to do that now unless I get like a loophole with a defensive midfielder. And then we've got Dunkley, 522,000, and he scored 120 points, which is okay. Ashcroft 107, which is alright. And Sheasel 137, so he bounced back, and you probably wonder why I've got Sheasel there instead of defence. It's mainly because at one point I was looking to maybe get rid of Sheasel potentially and have a stronger, because I reckon there's a better top six than what Sheasel is at the moment in terms of defence. But it's like, anyway, because the midfielder was fairly weak, so that's a whole other issue which we'll get to in a minute. And then we've got Caldwell I traded in 102 as a sort of like an M8 midfielder who's doing okay, I guess. Had like a few couple of poor scores, and his price dropped around at 400k, which I reckon was a bit of a bargain bringing him in as an M8 option. And you got Levi Ashcroft, another player I wanted to get rid of a few weeks ago, but just couldn't due to the injuries. 66. Kako 39, which is he just hasn't really could have gotten a goal, which might have bumped up his score to 50, but he just hasn't really. To be honest with you, I reckon he should be in the reserves. But yeah, I mean, he hasn't really kicked a couple of goals or even get like a bag of 3 goals, considering he had a great pre-season with kicking quite a number of goals in that pre-season match. I thought he'd at least get a bag against some of the weaker sides, but he hasn't done that. So look, he's only young. I'll probably hold him off into the bye, maybe even get rid of him this week. Who knows? And then Sarong didn't play, and you got Hall. I don't know why he's just not getting selected. It'd be great if he had. If this rookie went well, and all these other rookies, these midfield rookies, I would be in a better position to, trade in Butters and Bond most likely in, but I can't really do that. Maybe able to get one of those two in, but I have limited trades, and I probably still need to do another defensive upgrade. And the same with Camper Rally. Probably alright at VFL level, but not quite good enough at AFL level. At least with West Coast, he's bringing Hall. I mean, bottom side. And then Sherry and DeConning played really well, and I'm happy with those two. And Smith was a late out, which was frustrating. And then you got Martin, 112, who did alright. Warner only 88 against Richmond, which is frustrating. I was hoping he would get 100 plus. And it was a vice captain score, which probably wasn't the really best option in hindsight, but you never know. You could get like a 150 against Richmond and absolutely dominate, but wasn't particularly his. I mean, he got a couple of goals, I think, but Rankin 89, average. Daniel 124. Thank God he didn't trade him out. How are the bigger issues? And just for the buyers. I mean, he's probably going to be just a hole for me the rest of the season. And then Gray got out, which I don't know why. He actually did all right the previous 2 weeks, and this is what irritates me. It really does. So, it's just frustrating because another cash cow I can make to bring in the last few upgrades. But it really just sums up the season. And then you got Pedler 37, and these two obviously didn't play, but Erasmus did alright last week. So it just seems like sort of the story of this season. You get rookies who play or a first couple of games and then get dropped for some reason. Yeah, and they don't really play after that. And it's just really frustrating. If same thing happened to Huswaite, Camporelli, like Clay Hoare. I think Cal will play, but I don't think he do too well. And just players are just. There's numerous trades with these rookies. 4 or 5 rookies who were traded in who only made a small amount of profit or just haven't played as many matches what we expected or haven't performed as well as that we wanted. And that really sums up the whole season in a nutshell. Pretty much to midfield rookies. At least usually with the midfielders, a better role and they can be able to get, at least a couple 100k or in a great role. But most of them just haven't been. Well, they've been injured. And that's been the main issue with Cash Gen and why I haven't really been able to bring in players like, Fieldy or an Ash, as early as I want to, or get rid of, DeConning, because I wanted to get him rid of ages ago. I know I should get rid of him, but just haven't needed to, and plus the buys, and it's just like, I want to get rid of Ashcroft a couple of weeks ago, but I couldn't, because you've got the buys coming up, and then you've got players getting injured, like Callahan, just things at the wrong time, and multiple injuries at once. It was like 1 week where I had 4 injuries, and I thought, I'll be lucky to finish in the top 40,000 at this stage. So, I mean, look, if McRae comes back in this week, they'll put that in. Mraz is back in. I think this week I'll be fine. It's more the week after that. Problem here is they don't really tell you who's in. So I think Geelong are playing. Yeah, there'll be a few team players out for that match. Yeah, Sydney's in. Yeah, maybe Adelaide. I don't really have too much of them though. Maybe a Rankin. So it's, and I think Essendon and that play after that, round 16. There's quite a few teams there as well, which is frustrating. So look, this week obviously Robertson in play, so he might be. I mean, ideally, if I had the luxury, trade him out to a Whitfield or an Ash or someone else. Put him Wangaroo Lira, which is all right, and it's a pick of a bunch out of those two to get rid of. I mean, it all depends. They got Carlton, so the ball actually might be on defence quite a lot because Carlton, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe have Brock as an emergency option. Yeah, Geelong, he's probably not going to score too well against a very good side. We usually struggle against Geelong. So I'll probably leave that as it. Maybe DeConning might be able to dominate this game, perhaps. Geelong do have a good record over Essendon. And I think if he's playing part of the ruck, he'll dominate around the ground, and there's a lot of lack. If he's playing defence, short Peter Wright and had to deal with. I mean, I'm hoping to get at least 80 plus score from that. And then the midfield obviously brings Wrong in. I do want to get rid of Ashcroft. Maybe not this week. Maybe the week after, potentially. I think that's pretty. Kakos maybe as an emergency option. Yeah, McRae obviously in. And pretty much, yeah. So I've got like a full, pretty much a whole side in. 21 players available. And actually, I could probably put Kako in there too. So, plus you got, right. So this week's fine. So maybe I could trade out perhaps Ashcroft this week for a Butters, and that way when Brisbane have their bye, I got Primo in. Almost pretty much a Primo side. Well, no rookies on field, and then I need to get rid of DeConning on defence. And I mean, I guess Roberts is a fake rookie. And guess you only really need the flex option as a proper upgrade. Otherwise, it just, I can't really win it this year. But I'm thinking, well, if I'm going to trade out a play, who would it be? Perhaps I could bring out Kako, because Essendon do have a buy coming up. And this is where I really wish, the midfielders, if Clay Hall and Camporelli had, 300k on them, then I'll be able to trade it for the Butters. And that's just the whole problem here. I trade out Kako. I'm not going to generate that much. Even Erasmus is a higher price. I might be alright in a few weeks' time once Erasmus, if he plays and does well, be alright. But say I bring in Jack Zonchen this week, if he plays, okay, that's 106,000. Cool. Bring that trade in. And then you've got Ashcroft. Cool, trade him out. But I've only got 490. And then ideally I want to bring in Butters in. Now I might need to check his break even. Could perhaps bring a George Hewitt in, maybe. I mean, it'd still be better than having a rookie on field coming home. Or maybe I could bring in a Merritt, perhaps. But I've got quite a few Essendon players in, so I'd rather have him after the bye if I was going to do that option. And Tuke Miller's a bit inconsistent, but it's probably one of the better budget options. And then Fig Callahan was injured, which is why I got rid of him to begin with. And maybe Day, which always has injury issues. And then from here onwards, it's kind of like they're not really what you're kind of looking for, even Cardwell. But I reckon if he gets back to form, he'll be alright. Maybe Day can lose Yannick. But yeah, look, particularly not really what we want here. So I think out of the options, if I was going to bring in, would be Butters at this stage. And Mill's got a bye this week, so there's no point me bringing him in if I was going to do that Butter option. Or I could trade at another rookie, but there's no one else really good on them coming in for the bubble. And Dunstall and Hayes aren't really the most reliable options either. Zach Johnson, well, Durham's injured. He's suspended for 2 weeks, so he's going to get his spot anyway, at least for a couple of weeks. There might be some money to make there. And it's like, yeah, it's just crap. All the other options here. So what I'll just have to, I'll need to check the break even. If the break even's still high with Butters, I can probably wait a week. I probably won't do anything really this week. And only really do the one trade. Get rid of Kako for Zach Johnson. Just to get that extra money in so I can do an upgrade shortly. Yeah, there's no myth. Yeah, good defender. So Brock probably has another game in him to get money. And there's no real... Okay, we'll go to defenders here. So if I do trade out Brock, Oscar McDonald, is he going to be playing? Most likely not. Emil Gray, well, I don't have a defensive forward, don't I? It's like that can't really work on there. And Lamal actually hit the goal as a defender, which is interesting. Well, he's marked as a defence here. Okay, Dean Coleman, not yet. Mills, I mean, he potentially another a budget option you can look to do here. But there's no other real good options unless McDonald is playing. But even then, it's 50-50 if he gets selected. And the forward line, which I don't want to trade out anyone. I'm just having a look. Yeah, no one really here either. So I can't... Looks like I'm going to really do one trade this week. Ideally, I wanted to bring in Butters and get rid of the conning. So I have to bring in a defender. I just want to have a look. And Ash, see, Whitfield's gone down. But he's been performing poorly lately, Whitfield. So he might even go down for another week. Perhaps, and maybe even Azorke. But he's still got a bye coming up. So the options you got here as well. And you got Amon, which is probably someone you don't want. Yeah. Ryan's actually dropped down a little bit this year. All these ones here, yeah, it's only really from Sheasel onwards. Looking at, you really got Ash and Whitfield. Perhaps Zorko as a budget option. That was what we could look for here. I can't afford him this week. I don't really want to bring him in this week. Look at his break even. Maybe as a budget option for Zorko. And then you've got Ash or Whitfield, which is probably the really only other ideal ones you can bring in. I think Sinclair's by far the best if you haven't got him in. Glad I got him in. But yeah, there's no one else really here ideally. So probably Ash or Whitfield. And I think the 4 line pretty much got most who I want. Average, who I don't have, Duke Jackson, but he's always hit and miss with injury with him and Darcy. But Shark I did want to bring in earlier, but I just unfortunately couldn't. Had the money at the time. And then down here and you've actually got right 16. So these are all the 90 plus ones here from Sync and onwards. I mean, these would be budget options. Draper's injured for the season. Right, he's a bit hit on. He's actually doing alright, but Simpkin can probably do well. Well, he has a bit more roller coaster pick. Same as Bolton. That's probably, there's no one really there. Maybe only Petrarca or Jackson, which is out of reach, would be there. And there's no really need for me to bring the 4 line this season, which is a bit surprising. Usually 4 lines are the one I struggle with the most, but this season it's just mainly midfield, really. And not really trading out to DeConning. I should never have traded him in, which was silly. That was probably one of the silliest things I've actually done, really, in terms of trade-ins. Every other trade in, like I'm happy with bringing Sinclair in, happy with Clark for the most part. All of them has been, hit or miss, but they haven't been an absolute disaster for trades or selections. I think having Horne-Francis and Callaghan, particularly Callaghan, because it's a semi-pod. He was doing okay as well, trading him. If I was able to just hold him in another week, it might have been fine, and I can get rid of these other players in. Get the cash and then bring in Rabutters or something, but it's just, stuff like that is annoying. So look, if McRae does play, that's fine. I mean, I got enough players on field anyway, so this week be fine. It's just the week's coming. It's more like round 4, 15 and 16. But look, this might be potentially the last week I do Supercoach, or at least uploading it. We'll see how we go next week. Next week, I reckon it might be alright, depending how things go. If things go smoothly, with no injuries or some nonsense, that should be fine. Probably still got the ranks most likely. But going forward after that, I'm not too sure how well we're going to go, because we still only got 9 trades after this week, and you sort of want at least 5 or 4 injury trades. I'm just hoping a lot of people in the same position that I am have only got a small amount of trade, which is most likely the case, and a few of the common players that I don't have that people do have, which I can have a look here. So maybe a Gorn. Actually, Presti's averaging 120, but I don't think he's going to. Brayshaw's another one that I missed out on. A lot of people have, and Bont people traded him in, but he's gone down in value. I'll probably just wait another week on Bont if you're going to bring him in. And McCluggage just had an off week, and he's done better than expected. So these are some of the players that I really catched an eye on. Green's another hit or miss player as well. Yes, Max Gorn. Popular players who I missed out on. Anyway, I got rid of him. And getting rid of Kako this week. So that's pretty much it this week. Okay for this week, but it's just, I'm not going to have that full side, I reckon. Or a couple of fake primos would probably be most likely my final selection, but we'll see how we go, unless something crazy happens with these rookies that really pop off that I've got, like a Brock gets 100, or a Jack Johnson gets 100 next week, or Rasmus can get another 100 score, near 100 score. That'd be great, and then I could hopefully, just going to have to wait maybe a few weeks to bring a premium in. I mean, it's not the end of the world if I bring in Butters. I'll just might have to bring in a budget option, around 500k, and just hope. I really wish Ashcroft, though, didn't perform that poorly last couple of weeks, and had an average get 100s, and that would sort of make it a little bit easier. But it isn't to be. It is his first year, so I'm not going to go too hard. All right, thank you.